Today, I confirmed that Sonic Adventure Remastered's development.
Calm down, buddy. First, let's just look at this one piece at a time. Everyone's been sending me this, telling me to check it out, and I think it's potentially the I've ever seen. But who knows, maybe that will turn out to be an L Sonic Show take. I will say that by the end of the video, I will either 100% fully confirm or 100% debunk and bust this rumor of an upcoming Sonic Adventure remaster for its 25th anniversary this year in 2023, as well as info from Sonic series producer Takashi Iizuka and Frontiers director Morio Kishimoto about the Sonic Adventure remaster. So drop a like if you still have a couple working brain cells and are optimistic but reasonably skeptical about this so-called evidence. And let's get right into it with the first tweet in this thread about the remaster. But first, you might not be fully aware of this, but the Sonic community has a ton of really amazing fan-made games and people who went on to make their own IP and get hired by big game studios. But what if you had the knowledge and experience to create your own video games and turn it into an actual career with opportunities for growth? If that sounds exciting, then let me tell you about Southern New Hampshire University, who is sponsoring this video. SNHU has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. I want to talk to you about their game development program, and in this program, you'll learn how to create realistic, dynamic gameplay experiences with game AI, game physics, 2D and 3D graphics, as well as interface design. You'll also learn a myriad of programming languages, as well as 3D modeling and texturing with game art software. Courses are taught by industry experts who'll teach you how to research, develop, and contribute to advances and trends within the field of game programming. SNHU is very affordable, and their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So click the link in the description or go to snhu.edu/Sonic. And it is an affordable opportunity if you're looking at colleges right now. Now, back to the video. This is from an account called Speeps Highway, and it's been gaining a lot of traction around the community. Now, it begins with, "Today I was given the full version of the Tails flashback image from Sonic Frontiers. So I believe SEGA may have a remaster of Sonic Adventure DX in development." Take it with a grain of salt though. And spoiler alert, nobody took this with a grain of salt. There's a lot of images and I'm not tagging them all, so a little spoiler for Island 3, which with it now being January, I mean, if you're avoiding spoilers and watching Sonic news videos, that's your problem, you know? And before getting into the details, one question that immediately strikes me is, would anyone even want a Sonic Adventure remaster? A full-on remake, absolutely. But the same game exactly, just slightly more upscaled? I don't know if that's even what the people want, especially after Sonic Colors Ultimate. But let's continue and hear him out. To start, here's the uncropped image and what it looks like with my attempt to remove the filter. When it was cropped in game, you couldn't see much, so I assumed it was just an edited DX screenshot. Here's also a DX image and a modded one to compare. And this is a pretty strong starting point, because when you remove the sepia filter with color correction, the lighting on Tails is undoubtedly different and follows the more modern look, which looks a bit like the modded one Speeps made, but the lighting on the white part of his mouth is more dynamic and entirely unlike the other two. And the ear. I assume because it wasn't in view of this angle, they made it bigger and go straight up to sell the image. However, it's one of those things you wouldn't notice unless you compared the images. The exception to this being, of course, if you're Rain Man level autistic and immediately noticed it, but as you can tell from the angle it's at, this is a modification made just for this picture, and that's something that will come into play later. He continues with, "The first thing I noticed was that the ground textures are undeniably the ones from the Dreamcast version, since DX's pavement doesn't line up at all. This led me to believe Dreamcast conversion was used, which the DX version of Adventure, while likely the most nostalgic for most people, is widely considered to be a graphically inferior version despite the more powerful console, and you know, the whole marketing of it being graphically better. It's almost like they have a history of not fully utilizing their current hardware."
No matter the version, and for the record, I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5, this issue is always apparent.
So it does make sense to me that they would use the Dreamcast version here. And yes, not only is Eggman's pod more rounded and enhanced than the other ones, but the Eggman model in it actually looks like it's a more modern one too. That said, it is hard to tell because of how small it is, as well as the tear effect filter over it. It definitely looks different. But let's continue hearing out where he's going with this. The arches on the Twinkle Park path are darker, and you can see the one behind clearly as well, which is kind of hard to see on Dreamcast from this angle since it's usually covered up well. And the glass on the tunnel in the background is, in my opinion, the most significant change since glass and water textures are one of the easiest ways to immediately identify when a game was made, so the fact that it's modernized here is significant. And this, combined with the lighting on Tails, makes me think that regardless of whatever the outcome is, this definitely is a modified image. And he continues this in another tweet with, "The missile seems to have writing on it. I know the image is screwed up from upscaling, but I don't think it's the same as the garbage on Tails' hand. The reflections on the base are the DX ones, but the logo's outline is more visible like Dreamcast." And I think the rocket is the smallest difference, but one thing about it that's not being pointed out and I find interesting is the weird harsh shading and edges on the body itself have been enhanced. So these lighting changes make me lean towards this being in-engine, which, while it's slightly possible it's just edited in post with something like Photoshop, it does seem that they took Sonic Adventure and manually enhanced it in-game. The real question is whether this was for a remaster or just for Frontiers, which we'll go over more. And he continues with even more differences, which we'll just rush through because this is going somewhere. But he writes, "The shiny part on the traffic lights is shaded like DX, but the boxes are in the Dreamcast's position, which looks slightly different at this angle. I've checked, it's not a camera thing, lol." The lighting is different throughout, namely the ground is much lighter, like DX, and the Twinkle Park tubes aren't shaded like any version. Dun-dun-dun-dun. I think most people have put this and Tails model down to editing though, so I didn't bring it up here. Now, I don't want to be too much of a skeptic atheist here, but if the differences are so subtle and it's just very slightly enhanced, is it not possible that since this is their game, that they were able to touch it up manually just for this? Especially since it's a still image that doesn't move, so enhancing it would be so easy. And it's not like SEGA wouldn't have the tools to enhance a single frame from one of their own games. And maybe it's the fact that, as proven by studies, while in-app on Twitter, users become 80% dumber and temporarily lose most cognitive functions, but everyone actually seems to think this is strong evidence that the remake is real. And with the 25th anniversary of Sonic Adventure coming up, that those stars aligning makes this almost certain. The worst part is I see next to no skepticism or doubt, and the couple I do find get like 0 to 1 likes. And you might be thinking,
Jaden, sure, you can be skeptical, but how can you fully debunk this? How can you confirm there's not a remaster in development?
well, it was told to me by my good homie Takashi Iizuka. And this is from Game Rant. But in an interview with Video Games Chronicle, the studio head of Sonic Team, Takashi Iizuka, aka my homie, stated that he isn't interested in remaking Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, saying, "That's just about making the graphics nicer and polishing up a few things," said Iizuka on the matter. "That's not what I want to do." He later says, "There's lots of more work that I would want to put into creating a new Sonic Adventure game." He tells Video Games Chronicle, "That's why there's no remaster." So while Sonic Team is definitely known to change their mind on these things a lot, with this being from a recent interview, I think these enhancements really are just for the flashback scene, but who knows for sure. With how much nicer these small technical modernizations looked, if this is something they can do fairly easily on their end, there is a sizable chance this will be given out for free as a bonus with their next game or something. Like putting an HD version of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 for free with purchase of a new adventure title would be an amazing incentive and value. And these kind of top G moves from SEGA have been happening a lot more lately, so maybe they won't mess this up and will take the opportunity. If what Iizuka's saying is true, this regardless definitely isn't going to be some standalone release with tons of time and effort put into it, and definitely not a ground-up remake. However, while unlikely, it is possible they'll have a remaster, but my take is that this was just for Frontiers. And they did do a good job on Frontiers, but it takes a little bit more than that. Like the Sonic Team I know would never go this above and beyond. Yes, it is possible Sonic Team will one day do an adventure remake. In fact, they'd be the dumbest company in the world if they don't do that within the next decade. But this very slightly enhanced image means nothing. And with Iizuka, who has some of the most say in the brand's direction, saying they aren't doing it, I wouldn't hold my breath. However, I wanted to show this because in my now 2 years covering news, this is easily the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I'm shocked how many people are sending this to me like it's hard evidence. That said, there is a message in all of this. Everyone would want to go head over heels to cover a Sonic Adventure remaster, so the fact that nobody is should be a sign that this doesn't really have any solid footing. You should question quite literally everything in life, especially stuff randomly posted on social media. It'd be easier for me to say, I don't know guys, this could be either way, I'm sitting on the fence on this one. But I'd rather be honest and give my intimate thoughts on these things, and at the same time, I don't want to create fake hype. However, that being said, I will use titles to capitalize on that hype. Ayo!
Now that you've gotten past my search engine optimized title, yeah, that's what we'll call it.
But who knows, maybe I'll be in the wrong and the comments will be filled with people going, this definitely confirms the remaster, case closed. Regardless of what you think, go vote in the 14th annual Sonic Awards, hosted by me, The Sonic Show. There's 11 categories and all you need to fill it out is a Google account. I have it pinned on my Twitter in the description. YouTube doesn't like me linking non-social medias. So go vote because I want to get a good couple thousand before I cut off the voting, and a lot of these are really close and going back and forth between nominees. And also, it's going to be the only award show worth tuning in for. More videos, double check you're subbed because YouTube randomly unsubs. Turn the bell on to all notifications so you don't miss epic Chungus Sonic news. And if you do miss it, you're going to look like a big fat loser. Oh, and lots of love. Peace. Peace!